always complain about their best. Winners go home and listen to Three Wise Radio.
Welcome to Three Wise Radio, a podcast where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, technology, the internet, and pretty much everything else media-related. My name is Joe Greller. I am broadcasting as usual with Garrett Welker and Sam Pixley. How are you this week, guys?
Doing great. Where are you broadcasting from today, Joe?
Where am I broadcasting from today? The middle of the ocean somewhere. Because of lifeguards and ships.
Deepwater Horizon? Middle of the ocean?
I don't know what that is.
Was that a Marky Mark project with him on the oil rig and he saved everybody?
Oh, the BP spill.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am not broadcasting from a BP oil rig, no.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I might be broadcasting from that prison that's in Face Off, not quite sure, but definitely not an oil rig. Going to talk about the Memorial Day weekend since summer is officially here, and the summer movie season has started, but now it is officially summer with the 3-day weekend that we just had. Also have a little something special for you to look forward to in a little bit. But first and foremost, some headlines, starting with Tom Holland has just signed on to yet another franchise. He's to play young Nathan Drake in the Uncharted series.
I think saying that's going to be a franchise is a pretty bold claim, considering that movie's been in hell for years. Unless they're going to do one movie where it's just young Drake.
That is, well, as of right now, that is the talk. Apparently, the entire story, which still needs a script, will be based on the flashback sequences we saw in Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception, where Nate meets his mentor Sullivan for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good... I mean, I've played all those games. It's a really good piece. He's essentially... the kid's a pickpocket, and he's kind of a street urchin, and he pickpockets the wrong person, and then Sully, who's a big-time kind of pickpocket, kind of like a Han Solo type, takes him under his wing, and the issues that they get into directly have ramifications in the future, but it's an interesting story. It's kind of cool. So I think that's actually a good decision.
Yeah.
I like it because you always want to try and do a young Indiana Jones, but you'll never be able to, especially now since we're already doing young Han Solo. But you can totally do a young Nathan Drake in Uncharted, which Uncharted, to a certain extent, is just Indiana Jones in a different time period.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. I think it's going to be good. Do you think Holland's the right choice for the role? Because I think Nathan Fillion was attached to this for a while, and there's been other actors that's been attached to this off and on when they were going to do a modern-day Nathan Drake. Do you think it's okay as that casting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they have it set in the modern day or if they have it set in the past. My guess would be modern day, but I don't know.
We'll see. We will also see how many villains exactly Deadpool 2 has, because rumor has it that the Strain's Jack Kesey has just been cast to play Black Tom, which is rumored to be the major villain of the film, similar to Ajax in the first one. Sam, I don't watch The Strain that much. You watched the first season, though, right? At least I know. I think you.
Yeah,
that.
I'm a few seasons in. I don't remember. I don't know who this guy is. Which guy? I don't know which guy he is.
He is Gabriel Bolivar in The Strain. That's at least the character name that I have for him. He's also. He was also.
He's the. Okay.
He played Leon in the Baywatch movie you guys saw this weekend.
I don't know who Leon is, but this guy. Yeah. Okay. This guy's the. He's a rock star that turns into like a goth vampire. Yeah. He's a pretty big player, but not. Okay.
Huh.
I also don't know who that villain is.
Black Tom? That's Banshee's brother.
So give us a little bit of history on Black Tom then, Garrett.
I don't really exactly remember what his power set was, but he was just constantly like an antagonist for the early XMen. I think one of the most notable story arcs is like when he teams up with Juggernaut, and like
he's in Saga, yeah, teaming up with Juggernaut in the animated series.
In the comics too. I don't really remember much about him beyond that. I always thought he was an X-Men villain, never like a Deadpool villain, though.
But, well, true. Well, he's a Deadpool character very early on, like even before the Kelly run, when there was only like the 2 4-issue miniseries that Deadpool had. He was a major villain in one of those. And it's a very good arc, but what it does is it does set up Banshee, which we guess Banshee means Banshee's alive in this version of the universe. instead of being killed off screen in Days of Future Past. And it also means that his daughter's name? Siren,
yeah.
who is another love interest for Deadpool, off and on, who he stalks,
Interesting.
but never officially gets to be with. There's kind of like he stalks her until all of a sudden she falls in love with him, but then he does something so horrible that she doesn't want to be with him.
Tale as old as time. He's got a very interesting, his mutant powers, bioorganic thermokinetic blasts. So he's one of those people that like channels thermal energy, but the conduit has to be wood.
Oh, all right.
Isn't that essentially what Scott and Alex do?
They use, I think they use concussive energy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what 50% of the X-Men project some kind of energy out of some orifice of their body. This guy just uses a stick to do it.
We've yet to see the butthole blast.
Yeah,
but
No, that's Cannonball.
You didn't see that in Last Stand?
No, I did not.
It's in the background. It's really interesting.
Speaking of X-Men, we'll stay on that for a little bit. New Mutants is supposedly targeting Rosario Dawson, which would make her in 3 superhero franchises now, because she also voices Wonder Woman in the animated universe for DC. They are looking at her for, I believe it is Henry Zaga. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's the other actor they're looking for. My bad. Dr. Cecil Reyes is who they're looking for her to star as. She's a mentor to the New Mutants. They're also looking at someone named Henry Zaga, who was in 13 Reasons Why, to play Sunspot in the film as well. So
I would have been okay with it, but you can't just play the Doctor
in
every role. It's like, oh, you know who'd be great in that? Her. Well, she's already on retainer for every company that needs her to play a doctor.
I think we've called that typecasting. It happened back in Hollywood a lot in the old days.
Yes, but this is like there's like
This is not even typecasting. This is pigeonholing.
This is the most specific needle point. Like, you got to be a doctor, but
No
you also
intended.
have to be grounded in the real world. But there is some kind of superpower going on, and you have to be Rosario Dawson.
Yes.
So no, then I think is the
No,
short
I think I don't know how she's going to keep all those lines memorized for all the different shows.
They're the same line. You
I
just
know, but with like different words. You'd be like, you're all messed up, Red, and it's like, I'm a 12-year-old kid. Are you talking about some other guy?
Damn. Yep.
Shit.
No. Our last X-Men story for the week, X-23, it just came out this week, is apparently going to be in her own film in future films and will not be featured in any ensemble pieces. So they're looking for an X-23 solo film to carry on that character as part of the franchise as a whole. They said you might see ensemble characters in her movie, but she will not be in any of the ensemble pieces like Dark Phoenix, of course, because it takes place, precursor like New Mutants or anything like that, though. They're going to maybe work those characters into her movie, not her into other movies.
Can they just do like a trilogy of it and call the first one Ultimate X, and then after we just start the Ultimate series, and then the next ones are called like Ultimate X-Men, and then we just actually get the movie that is already set up with like these mutants starting their own thing now that all other mutants are gone, the way that this has kind of perfectly set itself up to do an Ultimate X-Men run after the reset.
I agree with you. I would
Perfection.
love to see that. And I would even go so far as to, if you wanted to, you remember how there was that like back and forth in the Ultimate X-Men comics between Rogue and Shadowcat?
Yeah.
For a little bit. I'm even okay because you have that kind of balance built up over the course of the 3 movies with the love triangle with Bobby Drake to, I'm okay with you bringing over those 3 characters and even continuing. That would stay kind of true to the comics as they were like the leaders of the younger group moving forward.
Man, I think you can I still like the idea of her being with all those people, and she's the lead of the first movie, but then you do come to kind of figure out that I like the idea more of her taking a back seat in later movies and kind of doing the thing instead of the Wolverine mantra where it's, I'm not right for the job, so you're perfect for the job. It's no, like, I'm a damaged individual, I know my purpose, and then we see another person who can take the leadership role of the new X-Men. It doesn't mean that you have to be completely focused around that character, but it does mean that someone else is in charge, even though clearly Wolverine was in charge almost the entirety of all the other movies. But Does that make any sense?
Yeah. No, makes sense to me. Now for some sad news this week. Depending on what bet you had in your James Bond death pool. If you had Roger Moore, sadly, he passed away this week. Maybe people thought it might have been Connery first, but nope, Moore's the first Bond to kick the bucket at age 89. I feel like we're about ready to get hit with a wave of Bonds dropping, like, over the next 2 years.
You predicting domino effect?
I'm predicting I'm predicting Lazenby, surprisingly second, and then Connery.
And
And then
Tim Dalton's going to live forever because he's a vampire.
Good
Possibly. But you know what? He's up there too. Dalton's about...
Dalton's 71.
Yeah. So...
Did you actually, because I was just doing a little research on him because of the passing. I actually, personally, I don't connect with him at all as Bond on any real level.
He was also in, like, 3?
No, he was in more. He was in the most, right?
Oh, Moore
7?
did the most. Moore did 7 over 12 years.
Yeah, he did the most. It's just
I was talking about Timothy Dalton.
Oh, yeah, Dalton did
Like
2, I think.
Yeah.
But this dude was like, his life was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, this dude has survived cancer before, has had, like, serious infections. Like, the world has been trying to kill this man for
a while now.
The better part of a century.
Damn.
So, I mean, kudos to him. He fought through it.
I mean, 89 is nothing to snuff at. Like, that's a pretty good run.
That's a great run. But just to hear how he beat so many things, it's pretty impressive. So hats off to the Bond community.
I'm with you. I'm not a huge Roger Moore fan. He was my favorite when I was very, very young because his art, I think, directed more towards children. Like, if I was going to show someone under 10 a Bond film right off the bat, I'd probably start them off with some more films because, like, Moonraker is just fun.
Star Wars.
What?
Star Wars. You just slowly get your kid from Star Wars to Moonraker to legit Bond movies.
Yeah, and just kind of move them along.
It's the missing link.
I actually do like Live and Let Die. It is one of my favorite Bond movies. And he has his back and forth with Walken in his last one, where it's like, you shouldn't be Bond anymore, and Walken shouldn't be a villain. But for some reason, God damn it, I love this movie. So that is some sad news, though, sadly. Roger Moore passing away at 89. In other sad news, Boss Baby 2 has officially been announced for a 2021 release date, and Alec Baldwin will return once again as the Boss Baby. No word yet, though, if Buscemi, Kimmel, Lisa Kudrow, and Tobey Maguire will be back as well, considering they were in this past one. But I didn't even know that this made money. I thought this bombed. Apparently it didn't, and it got a sequel.
And I don't want this to sound harsh, but I feel like animated movies have become kind of the... what's the nice way to say, like... I don't think of it... They just seem like kind of the slut of the movie industry. Like... Everybody just it's cheap to make. Big actors sign up for it because it's not as intensive work as acting in a big thing. So they're able to get a lot of names for even a smaller amount than they usually charge for. It's like everything's cheap to do, and I believe like CGI in an actual, not in an actual movie, but in a live action movie is even more expensive to put together than like an animated movie. I could be way off base, but I'm confident that they're much cheaper to make. Maybe I'm off.
I think nowadays you're correct. They used to be really expensive. Mm-hmm. Take years and years to produce. Now we should mention that 2021, is some time away too. Like that's 4 years down the line here.
Yeah, so maybe I'm way off base. I might be. I'm gonna look up Boss Baby budget. Little B.
Triple B.
But this entire movie was based around basically a Alec Baldwin doing his Glenn Ross scene, which that's his only scene in the movie, and yes, he won an Academy Award for it, so it's a great scene. I mean, it literally is a great scene, but it's basically him doing it as a baby to a toddler who can't talk. Like, it's a great scene, but I saw that in the trailer and was like, I've seen all I would want to see out of this movie.
Like this should. That's more. It actually cost $125 million, so apparently not.
You may have been way off.
Well, then I guess maybe I will change it and say that the movies aren't cheap, but getting actors for them are cheaper.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure they're
the consensus that I heard about this was that like Boss Baby should have been a short before a different movie, but it did make $500,000. Or sorry, $500 million.
I was about to say it made $500,000.
My numbers are way off today.
Well, speaking of something that did fail, Netflix canceled The Get Down.
Yeah.
Baz Luhrmann, The Get Down has been canceled after 1 season and 2 parts.
Quick question.
Yes.
What is The Get Down?
It was a I don't say a docudrama. I guess like a biopic. I don't know what the word would be to describe it. But it was essentially a fictionalized telling of the birth of hip hop in the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
And it was in a Netflix original series, but Baz Luhrmann's a freaky dude, which is why I had some hesitation going in.
I don't want to say season, but like the first season was really good, and then the second season was just really like they started throwing in like some cartoon, like comic book animations in there for some reason, like as like your transitions from scene to scene. It was like why this has nothing to do with what even happened. Like it made sense for one character, but that one character was not even the main character. So it's like, why are you doing this?
And here's the thing. The man has a vision. Like, his films are always gorgeous. I mean, some of the films he directed the Romeo and Juliet film with DiCaprio, which is word for word the play, just set in modern day time. He did Moulin Rouge. He did Australia. And he did The Great Gatsby. All those films are beautiful, but they're all just boring and dragging. And it's like, he has pacing problems, I think, in all honesty.
The first season didn't really suffer from that. The second one definitely did.
Okay.
For sure.
Speaking of shows, though, that actually got renewed, HBO this past week renewed Veep for a 7th season and Silicon Valley for a 5th, but they'll have to do so without TJ Miller, who has already come out and said that the current season will be his last. So,
That's fine by me.
What?
That's fine by me.
Do you watch either of them?
No, but Veep has been the one that I'm more interested in watching. I've been told by multiple people that Veep would be great. Isn't she the president now?
She was. I think now her term's over with.
Like,
was vice president, then she's president, and I think now she's not president anymore.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah, I've just been told that that's the one to go to. I've seen some Silicon Valley, and it's a very funny show, but that guy, the lead, starts to get annoying for me after a little while.
Right, and that's why it worries me. I know TJ Miller can be overbearing sometimes, but there are moments where he carries the show, in my personal opinion. And I think he works as an ensemble character.
Oh, well, for sure.
He plays well off of, because he's a very sedated, kind of calm. Like, even when he's yelling and like doing his TJ Miller thing, he still kind of like has a softer presence, whereas that other guy is just kind of like twitching and shaking all the time and like very jagged movements, and like that's his whole thing.
I almost wonder if that's how he's really like, because he's like that in the new car commercials or whatever that he's been doing.
Oh, that's because they tell him to be the guy from the show. For sure. Gotta be.
You hope so, at least. That's not his real personality.
Is he a poor man's Big Bang Theory guy, or is Big Bang Theory a poor man's that guy?
I think they're distant cousins.
Distant cousins?
I think they're on the same part of the spectrum, but they're just distant cousins.
Gotcha.
Pun intended. All right, we're going to be looking at all right, don't think about it too hard. We're going to be looking at some 90s TV shows, or maybe any time. Mine are all from the 90s at least, that might work well as a movie, and maybe also in the vein of the meta comedy, like Baywatch came out this past week. We'll also be taking a look at the movie weekend itself, considering this past Memorial Day weekend was the lowest box office weekend since 1999.
And over here, we shall now run experiments on the Three-Wise Radio.
We have a brand new segment this month, and I'm going to keep continuing every month. It's our Cosplayer of the Month, and our May Cosplayer of the Month comes from Beech Grove, Indiana. It is none other than Jay Bryant, who has the alias of MC Iron Man. How are you, Jay? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Feeling pretty good. Never done an interview on the radio before, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're glad we could ease you into this. Don't worry, it won't be too tough. But we want to give the listeners a chance to get to know you and get to know who you are. And we've been featuring your MC Iron Man pictures all month to try and get people a little visual of who you are, but what was your inspiration for MC Iron Man? I know some of the fun cosplayers like to do a little version of the main characters and put their own little tweaks on it. So what made you come up with MC Iron Man?
Well, I gotta throw props to my buddy Jackie, man. Jackie Brady, Rap Battle Spider-Man. Probably one of the most positive dudes that I know, and he was like, man, you got to get into the Marvel music. Find a character, do it. You'd be boss at something. So I picked MC Iron Man and ran with it.
And the costume is great. One of the things that really stood out to me was the shoes with the glow. What did you do to make the shoes? I know there's gold glow going on there.
I kind of had to buy those.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie. The helmet and the shoes were bought. The jacket was a thrift store special, old varsity jacket that I blinged out myself.
Nice.
You know.
Sure.
And then the necklace. The necklace was just a tap LED light that I got from Harbor Freight, and then I blinged the shit out of it. Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
We're explicit. Don't worry. Usually
Just
already done it.
painted it gold, threw a bunch of stones on it, and just rocked it.
Yeah, man. No, it looks great. But what got you into the cosplay community? We've done it before. We did a test run at C2E2, I think it was in 2016, as a whole entire group. And you basically kind of become a mini celebrity of people running up to you and taking pictures. So what got you into the community itself?
What actually got me in the community is a lot sadder story than it would seem. My dad was diagnosed last year with bladder cancer, and he was like, you've got all this creativity, you've got all this artwork, why don't you try cosplay? You would probably love it. So I was like, okay, I'll throw my hand into the race there. I'll give it a shot. So I built me a Hellboy, and I went and I just fell in love, man. Like everywhere I went, they didn't say, hey, look at that dude, he's dressed like Hellboy. They just said, holy shit, man, there's Hellboy. Nice. It was like straight up, they treat you like you are that character. And it's just, had it not been for my dad pushing me to use what he's taught me all my life, I wouldn't have got into it.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Yeah.
That kind of points at another thing that I was just going to ask you about earlier, paired along with that, is it seems like the community, especially when you get inside, what you said earlier about your buddy just being one of like the nicest guys you know, the community is overwhelmingly embracing of everyone and everything. Do you feel like that's been your constant experience with everybody that you meet at cosplays, who you go around with at cons and everything like that?
Well, it's like a lot of times, you find a lot of people in the cosplay community where you can tell they walked around a lot of their life feeling like they were a piece to a puzzle in the wrong box. But a lot of the people in the cosplay community were a bunch of odd pieces that fit together perfectly. So everybody's great. Everybody is very welcoming, very inviting. They have no problem sharing their tips and tricks and how they pull off certain looks and all that. So, I mean, everybody's pretty cool, and it's just like, it's really like a big family.
No, I mean, that was kind of our experience as well. We went to Metropolis and cosplay and met up with some cosplayers there. And yeah, it is just one big family that kind of welcomed you into it. You did Hellboy the first time around. You said that was your one of your favorite characters. Why is Hellboy one of your favorite comic book characters, or your favorite comic book character in general?
Oh, I'd have to say I got a lot in common with them. I ultimately feel a lot of doom. It's one of the things that trips off from my anxiety. I could be the guy who could jump in the middle of the party and I'd know everybody by first name basis at the end of it. And then something just flipped one day, and it's like I felt segregated from everybody. Yeah, really. And Hellboy basically is isolated from everybody. He's basically segregated from the normal people of the world. And the biggest thing he wants to change about himself is who he is. And I just relate to that on so many levels, because when you get to a point where you're like, man, I used to be this. How did I get here? What do I do to fix it? How do I change it? And since he was a character basically in the same boat, it just was drawn to me. And he loves cats.
Perfect.
Oh, the cherry on top there.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people forget, is that just kind of like what you've been saying with this whole thing, is that a lot of times this is a creative outlet for people to really explore. A lot of people that don't either act or paint or anything like that, this is just as much of an expression of self to dress up as another person, and that's something that you have to. A lot of people use this who are struggling with things or who want an outlet or anything like that. So you always have to try and keep some perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that the easiest way to be myself was paint myself red. It's so much easier to be yourself when you look like someone else. I mean, I guess it's kind of the facade of humanity. It's easier to be you when nobody can say you are you.
They're rebooting Hellboy and the movies here coming up. You looking forward to that, or you miss Ron Perlman?
I'm on the fence, man. I mean, the guy that they got to play him, I'm sure he can do a hell of a good job, And the people who are going to be responsible for producing and writing and making it, they have all done great things. It's just, in a lot of ways, they should have went with Hellboy in Hell with Ron Perlman. I mean, that would have just made more sense.
They were setting it up so perfectly in the first 2 installments. I wanted to see that so bad for a third complete trilogy. I agree with you.
But I can't knock the idea of an R-rated, gory Hellboy movie because that sounds appealing.
Oh, yes, it does. Sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. One of the things coming up, you're going to do the Joker. You're going to have a special take on it. I've heard through the grapevine. What's in the future for you with the Joker, or just cosplay in general?
Well, my Joker, he is his own universe. He worked in the circus all his life. He started out when he was young teenager. He was one of the clowns, and finally worked his way up to the top of the circus. He was finally the ringmaster, the master of ceremonies. He was the top. He was the boss. Mm-hmm. And the circus gets canceled. And he flips his lid, sabotages the trapeze act, killing Dick Grayson's family. And then he jumps on a train and just starts traveling all across America, doing whatever the hell he wants and recruiting the homeless into his massive army of goons.
I like this. I'd read that graphic novel of that. I like that Elseworld story, man. That's a great story.
I've been kind of trying to come up with a good voice for him. I kind of want something reminiscent to Mark Hamill, and definitely throw some Heath Ledger in there. I want the crazy, high, giggly Mark Hamill, but when he gets real serious and dark, I want the more Heath Ledger to pop out. I want my Joker to be scary and funny.
It's a pretty strong change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the essence of the Joker. You nailed it right there. He's the guy who you're scared shitless of, but every once in a while he's going to make you laugh and you feel bad for almost laughing at it.
But mine is more about performing. He's about giving you the show of a lifetime. It's not necessarily about the joke. He wants you to leave and not forget what you saw.
That's amazing. I love that concept. Where do you think you're going to end up debuting that character at?
If all goes as planned, I plan on debuting it at Indie Comic Con 2018.
Okay.
And if he takes off real good, then I'll definitely bring him up to C2E2 next year and just see where I go with it.
Now, that's an interesting concept you just said right there. Do you test out characters at different cons and then maybe bring them to bigger cons later on? Or how do you decide what character you want to take to what con?
I kind of don't really have a method for it. I mean, I try to stick, pretty classic to what the theme of the con is. Like, Comic-Con, obviously, I like to do my Hellboy, and on Sunday is when I debuted my MC Iron Man, because Iron Man's also a comic character. Last year at PopCon, since it's pop culture and pop art and pop media and all that, I went more for Elder Maxim from the Fallout 4. And then Gen Con, I just went to Gen Con because I heard a rumor they don't like cosplayers.
All right. Okay.
So, I mean, that's kind of, I guess that's kind of a dick move, but I heard it through the grapevine. They're like, "Oh, well, cosplayers are a waste of time," and I'm thinking, I want to be in your way all day, buddy.
That's beautiful. Like we said, we're posting those pictures of MC Iron Man up. So we know the cosplay community is an outreach program, basically, to try and connect with other people. Who is your photographer, man? Because those photos are great. Let's show them some love as well.
Yeah.
The photographer's name is Darby Funk. She's, local to Indiana, down in the Bloomington area. She's a great photographer. The spot that I went is actually the romping grounds of Rap Battle Spider-Man. It's his favorite spot in Bloomington. It's a nice little alley section. It's got all that beautiful graffiti in it. And that was really the first time I did a professional style shoot with any of my characters. But I'm going to be doing another one because coming up we've got Jackie's hosting an event called Camp Cosplay, and it's at the Monroe Lake down in the Bloomington area. and I'm breaking out my Jason Voorhees for the entire camp cosplay.
Nice.
So I'm going to get a good photo shoot of me slashing and killing the guests and coming out of the lake, of course.
Fantastic.
Oh, man.
I gotta ask though. So which Voorhees are you doing? Are you doing hockey mask? You doing burlap sack?
I'm going hockey mask, but I'm doing like the rotted face underneath.
Nice. Okay.
It's not the hacked up hockey mask. It's still like, intact, but it's dirty. It looks like it's just been sitting under the lake for years, and I'm gonna have the chain wrapped around my neck and all that.
Great.
Big bulky coat. It's creepy as hell when I got it all together.
Awesome.
That does sound awesome. Where are you going to be at next, Jay? Where can our listeners find you out and about next?
Well, so long as there's no prop ban, because that's apparently becoming an issue as of late, and I totally get why they'd like to do it. I plan on being at Indie PopCon.
Okay.
I think it's like June 7th through whatever, the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure which characters I will debut, if I am going to debut anymore. I'm definitely going to be doing the Hellboy on Saturday.
Okay. All right. So if you're at Indie PopCon and you see a Hellboy, make sure you say hi to Jay. He's on Instagram at MC Ironman. Of course, he spells out MCEMCEEIRONMAN. MC Ironman on Instagram. Make sure you follow him, show him some love. Jay, thanks for joining us this week, man. And you've been a great cosplayer of the month, man. We've absolutely loved it.
Well, thank you, man. I mean, I'm honored to be the first.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. Talk to you later.
I've been reviewing your file, and it seems as if you have an addiction to Three Wise Radio.
However, taking a look at the holiday weekend that was Memorial Day weekend, it is the lowest grossing box office weekend in history. But that doesn't mean that we here at Three Wise Radio didn't do our part to at least try and generate some money. Garrett and Sam both saw Baywatch. I saw the other Heisties adventure, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales.
It's a bit mouthy. Wordy is the word that I'm looking for.
Say
Not
that
mouthy.
say that 5 times fast, Joe.
No pun intended, because that was the 5th installment in the franchise. Dead Men Tell No Tales, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men. Fuck it. Can't be done. But Pirates took opening weekend at 77 million, following by Guardians at 34, and Baywatch coming in very, very poorly especially for a Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie at 25 million opening weekend. They're already calling it a potential box office flop, because for a 4-day weekend, 25 million in especially the Rock category, or even a movie like San Andreas opened big, this is not looking good for the potential of this becoming the next 21 Jump Street.
Yep.
You guys saw it. Give me your impression of it.
Honestly, like, there was some really bad moments. They're just like, why'd you guys even include this in the movie? There was a lot of like technical issues that I noticed. A lot of like I don't know what the actual term for it is, but like whenever, I guess it's continuity, but like the actors would be posed one way, but then the camera shot would flip and they'd be like posed some other way. It's like, clearly someone wasn't doing their job and paying attention to that.
You know how when you were in college or high school and you had to write a paper and you figured you'd just knock it out a day before it's due, and then you realize it's a lot longer than you think it is, and your goal isn't to do well anymore, it's just to get it done?
Yes.
That's what this was. On every level. Like, it was this script barely made it out as a treatment. Like, it was the most formulaic, uninspired thing, and there were probably 5 jokes that I got a good chuckle at, but this movie was so bad that I actually felt bad for laughing at them.
Oh.
The only shining thing in this was that I liked all the people that were in it. Not necessarily the characters they played, but the people.
So, did you even have fun with the movie? Like, you know how we review a lot of bad movies on this show, and sometimes we're like, yeah, but you know what? And Sam, what usually comes out of your mouth is goes, it sounds like I hate this movie, but I really didn't. Did you dislike this movie?
Honestly, I had a fun time at this movie. I don't know if maybe it was just because I was with Sam and we were just like making fun of, like, I could tell that we were on like the same wavelength of like, God, this movie's so bad. But it was a fun time going to see the movie.
There were more sighs than laughs. And I think it was just because what else? There's nothing else that they can expect. Like, there's nothing else that you can expect from this. Like, it's almost exclusively sexual jokes. Almost the entirety of it. Every character is a one-note character. Even when you think there's the moments of like depth is going to happen, or you know how there's like the classic plot devices that cause a fight and then cause people to reconnect. There's never anything that causes the reconnect or the fight, really. And you know how Zac Efron being the young, new, brash guy, there's usually some kind of redeeming quality that he has or shows throughout the movie that's like, okay, you're not that bad. Like, the one thing that he says is he was a foster kid, and then
they never touch it
they
again.
never address anything else about it, or he's like, I'm a foster kid, and I got those gold medals.
Like, I earned those
I
for
earned
my hard
those
work.
medals. And just nothing, no one changed, or no one, it was just so bizarre. And the entire time, as someone that has been a certified lifeguard for over a decade.
That's what I knew you were just like cringing at.
Spot on. Everything they did was spot on.
Perfect.
Or exactly the opposite. Fun fact, when you're a lifeguard, you do not dive into a fiery catastrophe, because your number one rule is survey the scene. If the scene is unsafe, you call the police.
That's a fair statement.
That's the code.
Had unfortunateness of seeing Pirates of the Caribbean.
Dead Men Tell No Tales?
Dead Men Tell No Tales, yes, which... you know what? They normally do say the title in the movie somewhere, but this one was very, very apparent. I went to go see it with Movie Versus counterparts Tyler and Steve, which I'm on this week as part of our whole worst summer sequels ever. But it sounds like we're getting a sixth because it's already made $400 million worldwide and made 77 opening weekend here. The problem with this is, all it did is remind me how great of a movie the first one actually was. Because Johnny Depp is now the Jack Sparrow that everyone makes fun of. He is just that impersonation. To where if you watch the opening scene where they first introduced Jack Sparrow in the original movie, it's a very cool introduction, and he's not that character that he is in all the other installments. He is just a fast-talking, double-talking pirate who just happens to be in a run of bad luck.
Yeah, he's not a caricature of himself.
Yeah, the first one is such a great movie because it's also about piracy. It's about going against the norm, not wanting to wear corsets back in the Victorian era, not wanting to, be a blacksmith because that's what society told you had to be. And in here, the film's main protagonist, other than Jack Sparrow, is the son of William Turner and Elizabeth Swann. So it's kind of like now telling you piracy is the tradition in a sense, as opposed to going against the norm. I am not lying when I say Orlando Bloom's scenes are the best scenes in the movie.
Does he have a lot of them?
He is not even in 10% of the film.
Baller. I think you're absolutely right, though.
His scenes are the best scenes in the movie. Because there's a great... in the opening scene where he's talking with his son, it is almost the exact reminiscent shot for shot of him when he's talking with his father for the first time on The Flying Dutchman. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. Of like, you saw your father in that position and now you're in that position. I'm like, okay. And that's like the opening scene. I'm like, I have high hope for this film.
And that's in the second one. That's in the second one that happens?
Correct.
Gotcha.
And so I had high hopes for this film, and then I fell asleep.
Nice.
And then Bardem came on, and because they added some weird CG sound effect to his voice, you couldn't understand what he was saying half the time. And
you can barely understand what he's saying, I think.
Anyways.
Normally.
That is true, but then they added effects. And you know how there's always a reason why these pirates are cursed in the film? Whether, it's like, because of a bad love, or they're spending Aztec gold. Literally, the only reason they're cursed is because they crashed in this place called the Devil's Triangle, and it's not explained any further.
Oh, I never thought they were cursed. I just thought they were like vengeful spirits then at that point. They were ghosts.
They cursed because, of course, it's a Disney film, and Disney now has to de-age a person in every movie. So in this movie, you get a de-aged Jack Sparrow, which leads to the inception of the cursed Javier Bardem. In other words, I can see why, based on your guys' opinion of Baywatch and what I saw of Pirates, why this was a bad weekend at the cinema.
How bad was it, Joe?
Not great for aquatics, or not great for movies in general?
I'm going to go with both. This set aquatic movies back quite some time. I would say Westerns are now ahead of aquatic movies.
You know what? I'll give you a tip of the hat, though, because it wasn't until you just said that I remembered why the first Pirates was good. That it was more along the ideas of you liked him because even though his life clearly is kind of garbage, it's his own, and it's like
right.
He has that independence, and that's the appeal of piracy, because it's a garbage thing, and everybody's dirty and everything, but they are their own individuals. So that's the compelling part. That hasn't been a factor in these movies since.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the first one is a really good film, but the rest of them just not so much.
There were sharks
Sailing...
in this one, though, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Zombie sharks?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, but it's not great.
Oh,
Sharks.
no.
Does anyone ride one?
No.
Damn it. All right.
However, there is hope, possibly, for some of these movies, because the last time this happened, we said, was in 1999. Do you know what opened that weekend, Memorial Day weekend, in 1999? And it opened in first place. Think about it. The answer is pretty obvious.
Jurassic Park?
John Wick.
The Phantom Menace.
That's a sweet movie. That's a sweet movie.
So there's hope for the
why is that hope?
Because it went on to gross $474 million domestically.
Oh, yeah. Money-wise, there is hope.
Yes.
Gotcha. Have they said what the next one's going to be called?
The Last Jedi?
No, The Next Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Oh. No.
No.
I think we're getting to like the I still know what you did last summer point where we're just going to have to start getting a little bit silly.
We're there, man.
Are we going to have Jack Sparrow's sister that also looks like Jack Sparrow?
Does he have a sister?
I don't know. Paul McCartney was apparently playing his uncle in this one.
I figured he was an old version of him.
That actually would work. Actually, McCartney seems pretty good, too, as far as cameos go. But
So is the next one going to be Pirates of the Caribbean, Birds of a Feather, and it's just the entire Sparrow clan, just all these gross people that look just like him. Everybody just kind of, ooh!
I'd watch a 5-minute short on that, but I would not watch it.
I would actively cancel my cable subscription to avoid seeing those trailers on accident.
And you can actively avoid going to the theater next weekend to go see those movies. Or you know what? Go see Wonder Woman instead. That's what we're doing.
Whenever I want something smooth and classy, I listen to 3 Wise Radio.
With Baywatch coming out in theaters this week, and it being another rendition of an old TV show that's being turned into a movie, we thought we'd talk about that segment. And then we plotted out this segment. We remembered that we've done this about 2 or 3 times already. So we put a little bit different spin on it, and it's got to be, to a certain extent, a meta version of it. Sam, what are you laughing at me about? What is happening?
Nothing.
We're calling ourselves out on it.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just laughing because you said it with such disdain. Like, with Baywatch out, we're doing this again. Not gonna mask how we feel about this one. Don't even bother waiting till this segment's over to hear about it.
You're kind of right. But what are some I have a list in front of me of 90s shows.
Oh God.
That what?
90?
90?
No, 90s, the decade.
That's better.
Oh Jesus.
Say, I have 2.
I have 1. But it's a really good one.
I have 9. I have 9 from the 90s that I would like to see turned into movies, and with a different take or a kind of meta take on the original.
Well, you go for it.
I'm seeing this as like a BuzzFeed article. It's like 9 movies from the 90s that should be remade into movies.
Yep. Yeah, except we're better than BuzzFeed. Sam,
there you go.
Tough not to.
What are some of your movies? Before I get to my list.
Some of my movies.
All 2.
Well, you have 2.
The big one that I wanted to do was Beverly Hillbillies, but then I forgot that had already been done.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 1993.
Oh.
It's got it's got the guy from Drew Carey's show and our favorite character from Balls of Fury.
The guy that saves the panda, but the panda's already dead in the classic movie Balls of Fury.
Nice.
He's in the Beverly Hillbillies. Yeah. So what was the other one then, Sam?
That was actually a different one that I was going to bring up. That was a TV show that I'd like for them to bring back to a TV show, but I'm just going to forgo that one for right now. So, Joe, you've got 18 of them in the bank, so I think you should get us started.
I have 9, but all right. First, I'll start you off with some easy ones. Fresh Prince you can redo, but you have Will Smith in the movie as the Uncle Phil character instead of him being the swaggy person. Or you reverse it and you have the child being uptight and the uncle being a little too swaggy.
I don't think it works, personally.
Oh, none of these are going to work.
Oh, okay. I was just always... The Uncle Phil just had such a presence. I always felt that, like, at any moment he could, like, belly bump you and, like, blast you through the wall. Yeah, just... That's what always impressed me about him, is how much those suspenders were working.
Is that he was secret sumo?
A huge human being. There's something to be said for screen presence, Joe. And Uncle Phil had it in spades. Do you promise me that the Will Smith will be the only Smith in this movie?
Yes.
Okay.
By far.
Then maybe I'm on board.
I want to see because do you guys actually know that compared to when that 70s show came out in the 90s, we are actually in that exact same time period now from when the 70s show debuted in the 90s about the 70s. We are now in 2017, which is the exact same time frame of that show would take place 20 years ago. If that makes any sense what I'm trying to say.
So what you're saying is they need to make that 90s show.
That 90s show already exists, though.
Because no, it doesn't. They tried to do that 80s show, so we know it doesn't work with other decades. I want to do that 90s movie.
That 90s movie?
So just any of the 90s movies, just all the cliches in the 90s movies put into one movie. Okay.
Exactly. Is like a very kind of movie 43, scary movie type deal, but I want to do that 90s movie. Because we're a sucker for nostalgia. There's your tagline. That 90s movie, because we're a sucker for nostalgia. I think that works great.
Isn't that just like a Friends movie?
Ew.
No. Because I don't want a Friends movie.
Me neither. That show's hot garbage.
Not hot garbage, but I don't want a Friends movie.
It's lukewarm
garbage.
Another one I've got. I want a Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but I want a dark and gritty version of it.
That's called The Covenant.
No, that's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
No, I've got that on my list as well. I want a dark and gritty version of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but where Salem the cat ends up the villain. So he's the one manipulating all the evil forces from behind the scenes. And I'm talking there is death in this one. Because this is like...
This is a hard R.
A hard R.
Okay.
But the cat is not CGI, it's still a puppet.
Right, because, practical effects are on the way back, so it makes sense. Do we still have a teenage witch?
Yes, of course. It's called Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Played by...
13 or, 18?
18.
Okay. Played by?
18. I don't know. I'm not casting these things. I'm just coming up with concepts.
Just speculating basic concepts.
Yep. That's for greater minds. I also have Freaks and Geeks, but make it the exact same characters and same people. Basically, just make a Judd Apatow movie about the Freaks and Geeks characters now in their 40s.
Wasn't that like role models or something?
No, here's the thing. He's taken aspects of that show, but I want the exact character because everyone keeps claiming, and I've seen episodes and they're kind of funny, but that show's great. That show's amazing. Okay, then let's do that movie and have those characters as they are now doing what they do, just now in their 40s.
So kind of like a reverse of Wet Hot American Summer?
Where
it went from movie to now show and then...
The only problem that you get with that is the whole idea of, I think the whole thing that fueled Freaks and Geeks is, these kids are all in it together, and if they stick together, things will end up being fine. But I think the movie of that in the future is just things are fine. No, it's just things are fine. So it's just a movie about 8 people being alive and being like, yeah, we made it. Remember when we were losers in high school? Yep. So what do you do now? Oh, I'm a software engineer. Cool. What do you do now? Oh, I'm a janitor. Cool. Are you still weird? Not really. I kind of grew out of it. Sweet. Roll credits. Like, what could happen?
I don't know. This is, once again, for greater minds, Sam. I'm just pitching concepts.
Pass. I pass. I will not be the greater mind to create this piece.
All right. I want Unsolved Mysteries to be a movie, but it just has to be about an unsolved mystery. Like just any unsolved mystery, and you just call the movie Unsolved Mystery. But the twist is also you don't get to solve the mystery by the end of it. By the end of the movie, the mystery is still unsolved. So it's a very unfulfilling movie.
Ooh. Will there be a follow-up?
Yes.
Mystery
and
still
narrated.
unsolved?
Yes. And they'll all be narrated by that guy who narrates the unsolved mysteries.
Okay.
Is Dennis Farina still in it?
Is that the guy?
I think so.
Then yes, he is still in it.
Perfect.
All right. I got a few more. Brisco County Jr., but the great Bruce Campbell series in the vein of Maverick. Only this one's called Brisco County the Third, and he is trying to teach his son how to bounty hunt.
But in the mindset of Maverick.
Yeah, like how Maverick, Mel Gibson was based on the Maverick TV show, and it turned out by the end it was actually a sequel to the TV show because James Garner you thought was just, he's in this because he played Maverick. No, he was actually the actual Maverick. It turned out to be a sequel to the show, and Mel Gibson was his son.
Right.
I want to do that with Brisco County Jr. And call it Brisco County the Third.
Can we call it Brisco County Maverick?
No, because then you got to cross over, and I don't want Gibson in this one.
I think the whole point of these are that they're supposed to appeal to younger people and also appeal to the people that used to watch those shows. And I think you may have gone a little too far down the rabbit hole. Might not be that many people that find that appealing.
I don't think there's many people that find this premise appealing because clearly Chips and Baywatch failed. So unless we cast Channing Tatum in all these, including Fresh Prince, I think we're doomed. And yes, Channing Tatum can play the teenage witch then too. I feel like if we cast the talent and we let him flex his many talents, he can salvage these movies.
I think that would make sense. If Channing Tatum was the teenage witch and he was just real angsty because he wishes he was a warlock, they're like, no, you're actually a witch.
No!
That actually would work.
I also like the idea because I think Channing Tatum, while he clearly is no longer a teenager, I think he would be totally up for pretending to be a teenager because he already did it in 21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
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 Well,
crap.
so
I feel like that shoots a few holes in mine.
Nope.
My last two, I'm actually kind of proud of. I want a Quantum Leap movie, but in the meta version where the guy leaps into Scott Bakula filming the TV show Quantum Leap.
Why?
Because he has to solve some sort of problem. I don't know.
What?
But aren't his leaps usually like historically driven?
Kind of.
Like almost exclusively? At this point, they're like, oh no, we've got to save the makeup artist so that they continue to make Scott Bakula's makeup so that this TV show can go on to create this movie to save this lady.
Save the episode's director, and that director went on to be great director guy.
Great director.
Pick one.
But that's a great show.
It is a great show.
Okay. Does the movie end with him awakening in another place going like, whoa?
No, yes, but he has to say, oh boy, because that's how all those ended.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Finally, I want to see Buffy rebooted.
Of course you do.
But I want a Buffy reboot in the vein of Supernatural or The New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, to where we are filming a Buffy reboot and the lead actress finds out that she's actually chosen to fight vampires.
So you want it to be meta and like self-aware that it is a show?
So it's
did you ever see Wes Craven's New Nightmare?
No.
So New Nightmare essentially it's not technically Freddy Krueger, but it's a demon embodies the concept of Freddy Krueger during the filming of the movie. So then he takes the form of Freddy Krueger, and essentially Freddy Krueger is birthed in reality from the movie. So essentially you would have them on the set of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and say, oh, maybe what we didn't know is that Joss Whedon, when he originally made the movies, he got some of his artifacts were legit and they just never said the right incantation, and we did a rewrite and did this, and then whoa, everything just became real. And Sarah Michelle Gellar is there?
Sure, she's the Watcher.
Is Giles there?
No, she's the new
Yeah,
Giles.
because you can't. Yeah, you gotta have Giles. Got the sexy Brit.
You're damn straight. You know what? I'd actually, as long if they're okay with that, the same way that they were okay with making that Dylan Dog movie with Brandon Routh, then yeah, I think that could be fine if they give it a small budget and they realize what they are. Should probably be direct to release, direct to video on demand.
They could do it Netflix now. I think Netflix is starting to become the new high profile direct on demand.
Netflix might be too high profile for this.
It's got Adam Sandler movies on lockdown, man. It's not too high profile for anything.
They gave him
He's got a point there.
No, that's fair.
All right, what are some of your guys's?
Mine, I only had the one, but MASH, set in like Afghanistan, like Middle East.
Okay, I like where your head's at, but
Because
you know that MASH was a TV show based off a movie.
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
So let's sandwich this bitch.
Yeah. Just because, like, everything that I see about the Middle East, like, shit, we even saw, what was that movie called? With
I don't know.
we saw a trailer for a movie about this soldier who befriends
that looks
a dog.
good. I wanna
And
see
it looks
it.
really good, but it's all like super gritty drama. Like we don't see any like we don't
There's
see
no
any,
light
we
side
don't
of
see
war
the lighter side of what's going on over there. You know, and I think that's why MASH was so good. It wasn't like, oh God, look at all this terrible stuff that's going on. Like, yeah, there's dramatic moments in it, but it was as a whole like a comedy, you know?
Yeah,
no, I
it kind of hit on the note that these people, they don't just have like moments out there, but they actually have to exist out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of the idea of what is it like to exist in a war zone,
Yeah.
As opposed to just like specific moments.
No, makes perfect sense to me. Actually, that's a good one, Garrett. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Sam, what are yours?
My biggest one, though, that I was actually looking at, and as I was cycling through trying to find funny ones, the one that I stumbled upon that I actually thought would be really good for today's times is if they did an All in the Family.
Oh,
But
that would be interesting.
It would be very difficult to do because what I would honestly like to see, I don't think they would. What's that?
It's just strive on racism.
No. But I think with where we are at, and I won't get political on this show, but where we're at, that there's so much of everybody going at each other's throats to explore the idea from as non-biased of a space as you can. You get people on both sides. Maybe you make Archie a little less of just a horrible person and try and actually accurately reflect two different political mindsets in the same home and have them both have pros and cons and let the discussion actually take place in a family, which happens more often than you'd think. I think if you did that right, that could actually be very compelling and timely. But with that said, that will never happen, and it will certainly, not take place.
But you know what? Kudos to you guys, because you guys put some actual serious thought into it. I tried to come up with as many as possible and hoped one would stick.
If you put style and substance together, you get 3 Ys.
Very good.
Yeah.
As usual, we end every episode with What's Piquing Our Interest, where we just say what's piquing our interest. Garrett, what's piquing your interest?
I'm going to do a little Garrett special. I got 3 today, Joe.
Oh, beautiful.
They're all quick ones. One, I finally started playing Overwatch. Told Sam that. It's a very slippery slope. I'm going to... This is a crippling addiction that I have to combat every day. Because I want to play it all the time. I know.
Who's your favorite character? And then I'll tell Joe what that character is.
It'd probably have to be either Genji or Tracer.
Genji is a robot ninja, and Tracer is a lady that can travel through time in quick spurts. And she's British, and she makes sure that you know it.
So it's Cyborg Flash.
Sure.
Yeah.
With guns.
With guns.
Okay.
My second one, I recorded, or I didn't record yet. I figured out quick little lick for piquing your interest. Little theme song ditty.
So
That will
instead of us
debut
just
next
saying-
week.
Hopefully next week. Yeah, I gotta bring my bass over and record. But
Instead of us just going, bow.
it's actually a little bass lick. It's like bow bow bow.
That's what we need. That's really going to take this thing off. Next
It is.
level.
That's going to take us to the next level.
We could create a Patreon so that if you want to hear that lick,
Just by
you
itself.
just have to give us money.
And my third one, I found a subreddit called We Want Plates, where have you ever been to a restaurant where they served your food on not a plate?
Like a soup?
Yeah, but
No,
Go
like,
on.
oh, here's a burger, but instead of a plate, here's like a brick. We're trying to be real fancy and artisanal, you know?
A brick. Yeah, usually like they'll serve fish on like a wooden slab or something like that.
Yes.
And this is just pictures of things that shouldn't be on things.
Yeah, here's a strawberry and brown sugar dessert served in an ashtray.
That's gross.
Yeah.
it is gross.
Because the brown sugar looks like
post that
ashes.
on our Facebook page so we can give the people a visual to see what you're looking at, because that's not appetizing.
Yeah, and I just spent like a good 20 minutes the other day just going through it and it's like, wow, these are real bad.
Always fun to find a nice gimmicky sub.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's piquing my interest this week is a friend of the podcast, David Amilotti, has a brand new channel out called Beyond the Blast Doors. It's a Star Wars podcast with great little videos and can keep you up to date on all your Star Wars comics that, because there's actually a lot of them now, and we're rewriting canon as we speak, basically. So you can check that out. We highly recommend it. It's a very good and very, very great stuff. Here's actually a little sample of it.
Hi there, I'm David. I'm one of the creators of Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars podcast, and I am so excited that you are checking out our channel. Right now, it's pretty barren, but that's going to change soon. Within the week, we're going to have our first episode up, ready for you to listen, ready for you to watch, and ready for you to tell us what you think. And that's what we're so excited about, is finding out how people feel about what we think about Star Wars. So while we wait for that first episode to be uploaded, right, for you to watch and listen, here's how we need your help. It's a fast-moving relationship. I get that. We just met, but I'm already asking for your help. Find us on Facebook. Find us on Twitter. Find us on Instagram. Like, comment. Tell us what you think about what we post. Tell us what you think about Star Wars. If there's something that we're not talking about that you want to talk about, ask us about it. We'll talk about it with you. That's how it works. That first episode should be up by Friday or Saturday. That's the goal. And like I said, if you can follow us on social media, subscribe to us here on YouTube, and stay up to date with us about all things happening in Star Wars, I think we're going to have a really good time. The movies, the TV shows, the comics, the novels, the cosplay, the Legos, anything Star Wars, we're going to talk about it. And we're so excited that we get to do this with you. I'm going to go away. I have work to do. We've got an episode to get uploaded. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see you soon.
So make sure you check that out. He is a friend of the Three Wise Media Network. Sam, what's piquing your interest this week?
Piquing my interest, not so much piquing my interest, but something that I just wanted us to briefly talk about. Maybe just give some of our thoughts to Zack Snyder. Big news happened, him stepping down from the wrap-up of Justice League, and then Joss Whedon is going to be wrapping things up for him. Regardless of how that goes, the big thing that I just wanted to mention is, let's always remember that these are people. And these people are going through real things. I mean, his daughter, unfortunately, committed suicide in March. I think one thing is impressive is how he and the entire crew, no one knew. We didn't know. Most people keep pretty close tabs on all of these things, and you had never known. But
they kept a tight lip on it, stayed professional about it.
But he had to step down to be with his family. Just to remind everybody that, we have opinions on these things, but you got to remember that these people are just real human beings with real lives, and the biggest thing to note there is, I'm all for free speech, but if you ever rip on somebody for exiting a movie based on the loss of a child,
or just anyone in their life,
you can say whatever you want to say, but I also have the opinion to think that you're a garbage human being. So, thoughts are with him and his family, and hopefully we'll have a nice Justice League movie.
We wish them all the best. They were mostly done with principal photography. I know they were just going to shoot a few pickup scenes. And everything Warner Brothers has said is that his vision will still be kept in contact, intact.
I'm not assuming that we're going to have a random spurt of all of Joss Whedon's signature actors that he uses will show up for random roles. I don't think that that's going to be happening. I think they're going to be very respectful about this and do right by him.
Yeah.
And actually, kudos to Warner Brothers and the entire deal as well on that, because to keep something like that tight-lipped, because that the executives there had to know about it. And in this day and age, when Sony can't even send an email about a movie without it getting leaked, something this big, kudos to him. And you know what? In case someone did know out there in the news outlets and didn't report on it because it wasn't no one's business either, kudos to them then too.
Yeah, good on WB for sticking with them, because I believe, I'm not confirmed, but I believe they also offered to delay the movie
They did.
for him. So it's good to see that camp, although there may be some turmoil going on with whatever's going on, that they can still kind of keep it together.
And we always try to keep it together here, and we try to keep it together on the media network. What, Sam?
Not well.
We do our best. Speaking of media network crossovers, I am on this week's Movie Versus once again, our sister podcast where we review horrible movies. I gave them the challenge to review Staying Alive, Speed 2 Cruise Control, and Caddyshack 2. Which person made the best argument and which person came up with the best rendition for the third installment in their franchises? You'll just have to tune in Thursday to find out. Also, you can check out on our Facebook pages Tyler Lamb. He will be doing On the Ride Home, a new segment we're going to try and start here on the Three Wise Media Network, where he will review Wonder Woman, a brief spoiler-free synopsis of Wonder Woman for you, live on Facebook before the movie actually comes out. Did I miss anything?
No, but I think now me and Charlie, who will be coming up to see Wonder Woman, we may do an after the car screening or an after the movie screening, talking about their screening of the movie.
Okay.
So we're gonna get a little meta here, maybe.
I'll tell you what, you guys do it, we'll enjoy it.
Perfect.
And we'll see you next week.
Three Wise Radio is a production of Three Wise Media. For more information, check us out on Facebook.